This is Jesse Hensley.
And this is Josh Turner.
Welcome to Turn Down for What?
And we're back.
Hey.
Episode 2 of.
Yep, I decided to wear the same thing today.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm glad.
A week later, and I'm wearing the exact
look
same
at that.
thing.
Better than that
crazy.
ugly white T-shirt you always wear.
Hey,
He does. He looks like he's been homeless for like 3 weeks with this white T-shirt that he likes wearing. Does nothing for his figure.
Yeah, but it's
lots of
comfortable.
sweat stains,
Isn't it, Josh? It's probably comfortable.
It is.
Yeah.
And my
Sweat
argument has always been, if you can dress simply, it's one less decision you have to make in the day. And you only have a certain amount of brain energy, so I'd rather just keep it uniform.
You need to keep all you can get.
If I can wear white shirts and shorts every day of the year, then great.
You're preaching to the choir here. Like, this is a guy who barely rolls out of bed in his pajamas and walks to his office. Like,
I just make sure I have the proper shirt on, because if there's ever like a call that I have to go on, you have to make sure you're not wearing like the,
I'm with stupid shirt with the arrow pointing. It's sorry, I didn't know.
My favorite's when you're in the pajamas and you have a upcoming meeting and you just change your top and leave the bottoms on, and as long as you look good, as long as the chest up looks good, then you can look professional.
I don't think I've ever done that.
I've 100% done that
on all the meetings I've done, because I'm like, the one time I need to stand up and then they'll know I'm in my underwear. So
come on, Jesse. Most of the meetings you've had with Josh, he's probably not had pants on.
Probably. Well, but we won't get into why though, because that would even be something that
I've had nothing on.
Oh no, please, going in the wrong direction with this. So last week we talked about solar. We talked a little bit about battery technology. Then we talked about wee hydro.
Wee.
What do we need to go with now? The electrification of vehicles, level 3 charging in Saskatchewan. You want to do that one?
Let's do that one.
So how hard is it to get your cars charged up there in the Great
Funny
West?
you should say that. I was looking this up, and I couldn't believe it. Kristian, of course, has 2 electric vehicles, and he just recently did a road trip, actually.
Yeah, road trip out to BC, which we can get into, and I'll explain to you about how good it was.
Yeah, but for Canada, Saskatchewan actually has the most charging stalls per electric vehicles. It's second place, actually. But when they talk about the Yukon, they only have 47 registered electrical vehicles up there. So, that's
wow. Okay.
Yeah, but here in Saskatchewan,
100 residents. So
yeah, exactly. Here in Saskatchewan, one of this date is, I think it was just this a little while ago.
My wife
August
just got
3rd.
back from the Yukon, so she went up there to Alaska and she got to see Denali and was up there for a while. Loved it.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country. I've got aunts and uncles who live up there, RCMP officers, and they. That's an interesting posting for a police officer in the middle of nowhere.
So we have. Go ahead.
I was saying last week we actually brought on somebody who was an expert in battery technology, but they were from Canada, the other side. But they were discussing the charging network, and it seemed like for his network, it wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah, as you go further east, it gets lower and lower. But here in Saskatchewan, we have about 23 stalls per vehicle currently.
That's actually not bad.
There's 540 some vehicles registered, and there's like about 123 stalls currently. Now, of those, I don't know how many are actually working, because a lot of them are.
But that's where apps like PlugShare and whatnot have really helped us all out, kind of communicate with each other what is working and what isn't.
But then as you go further east, you get into like Ontario, they're down around 3 stalls per 100. But they also have a heck of a lot more. They have like 36,000 vehicles and about 1,100 stalls. So
do you know the actual number of electric vehicles that are currently on the roads in Canada?
I'm sure he can type it and find out, just like you can. I'm
gonna Google the U.S. and somebody Google Canada.
Ask Jeeves. While they're doing that, let's go ahead and talk about your trip that you took.
Let's talk about that. So I went from Moose Jaw here in the middle of Saskatchewan, which, if any of your American listeners aren't sure where that is, we're straight north of North Dakota.
Yeah.
Okay. Same kind of territory, same kind of farmland, very rich farmland for the bottom half of the province.
And flat.
And very flat.
So for you, North Dakota is actually South Dakota, and South Dakota is very South Dakota.
Yeah.
Okay.
You have South Dakota and further South Dakota.
There you go. One or the other.
So we went from Moose Jaw here and drove all the way out to Vancouver, BC, and then drove around there for a couple of weeks and came back. So it was 5,000 kilometer trip.
Wow.
Yeah. And we didn't, like, one of my buddies had said, do not pass a good charger. Like, his theory was, like, just if you're going 100, maybe 200 kilometers and you come by a charger that on PlugShare or any of those apps that is rated really well, stop for 10 minutes, get a little bit of a charge, move on. Don't plan to get to the place you're at with 10% or 20% battery, and then you get there and the charger's, charging you at 8 kilowatts. You're now sitting at that charger that's supposed to be 350 and you're getting 8 out of it. How many times have we all done that?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah.
Yep.
So his theory, I lived by that theory all the way out there. And, I've got a 9-year-old, just like, you, Jesse, you got some kids, and Josh, you guys have some kids, I'm sure. They all need. I don't know how that happened. It wasn't by choice.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever catch the guy. Anyway.
Yeah, we went out to Vancouver and back, and it cost us $156 to go 5,000 kilometers.
Wow.
That was total. That was my total amount used at charging stations.
And did you do the calculation of what it would cost in a gas vehicle?
Yeah, it was like $2,000.
Yeah.
It was almost $2,000 for my old Highlander hybrid EV.
So there is a little bit of a cost savings, eh?
Yeah. And I mean, we had a couple hotel stays where we had the slow, 8 kilowatt charge overnight, but by morning we were back up to full. So there was, I think I got 4 of those where we picked hotels that had chargers at them. It was just
free with your stay. So
planning.
I think every hotel needs the level 2 level 2 charging infrastructure. Mm-hmm. If you can get 8 to 10, there's some that I've seen that are 15, but like if you can plug in the afternoon when you check in and be full by the next morning when you leave, there's no need. I've seen some
that comment brought to you by Linkwell. If you are a hotel out there, please contact us for a level 2 charger. We can hook you up with Linkwell Solutions.
But that's where the level 2 options for there make the most sense. And then obviously along the roadways for publicly accessible areas, that's when you need the faster chargers. But
even if the hotels wanted to charge an extra $5 a night for that to reserve the charging stall.
Yep,
I would have been fine with that. I mean, we were spending $200 to $300 a night on hotel rooms. Like, what's
$5 would be what the power would cost.
Now, my beef was I went down. I took my wife and kids down to Disney, and they had a level 2 charger at Disney. Mm-hmm. It charged me like it was a by hour rate, and it was super slow. It charged me like $50 to fill it up, but it got full in the middle of the night and then charged $10 an hour so I either had to set an alarm for 3:00 in the morning to move my vehicle, or when I got up and got to my vehicle by 8 a.m., I had gotten charged an extra $50.
Got him!
And there was 12 extra ports just sitting there, but I got billed almost $100 to fill up my level 2 charging experience. And I was like, man, that hurts.
Yeah. We had a couple like that too, where, you were sitting there and my little app comes up and says, oh, your car's done charging. I'm like, oh, okay, well, we'll be done in 10, 15 minutes. And then I look at the app after and it's like another $5 or $10 they charge for me to
cost us almost as much as the charge itself.
Parking costs.
Yeah, parking costs.
Yeah.
But on our trip, we averaged 16.5 to 15.2 kilowatts per 100K, which you guys would be 3.8 to 4.1 miles per kilowatt.
That's really efficient.
We might get 2. Well, less than 2.
Our trucks, my lifetime average in my truck, including highway and residential, is 2.3 miles per kilowatt.
This is Ioniq 5.
Ioniq 6.
A 6.
So that's the sedan, which is the lowest drag coefficient production car right now.
Ours are not very efficient. They're very, very heavy.
Yeah.
And they look like an F-150.
I can't carry things.
It's true.
I know.
I can tow 10,000 pounds for 50 miles, but yeah.
13,000.
Yeah. Like
I think they're 13 on ours.
Yeah. The Ioniq 6 doesn't have a frunk per se. It has a small glove box under the trunk. Like
frunk envy.
I very much do have frunk envy of you two.
What the frunk are you talking about? But yeah, no, I mean, I love my truck. I still save a ton of money on gas. But I mean, the F-150 Lightning is not going to be, I mean, in any of the large scale trucks and SUVs that they're producing are not the most efficient EVs on the road. We looked that up, and there were some of the most efficient ones were the Tesla, but I mean, the Hyundai is very, I mean, 3.8 to 4.1. And what speeds was that averaging at?
Full 60, 65 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, that's insane.
That's really good.
That's really good.
The part that I loved the most, and my wife hated the most, was whenever we'd come up to pass someone, because a lot of the highways up in Canada here are 2 lanes or at most. So you'll come up behind a truck doing 55, and there's 13 cars lined up behind it trying to wait to pass in that mountain pass. And my wife's like, "Oh, what are you going to do?" And I'm like, "Sport mode, click, click." And pedal to the floor, and I'm past 5 of those vehicles in 3 seconds. Like the Ioniq does 4.3 0 to 60. Yeah.
That's almost as quick as our truck.
Almost as quick as my truck, but not quite.
Yeah, but he's getting like 10 times the range as we are, though. So,
what is the range on your Ioniq 6?
It comes up 600K on the ideal range. We were doing about
3,600, Josh.
450. You're doing about 450. 450 kilometers is what we were doing for most of ours.
That would be 450. So that would be 24, like almost 300 miles.
But we never got down below 25%. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Full range.
With our truck, I mean, it's advertised 320, but I mean, on the highway, on our road trips, I mean, I'm going almost 80 miles an hour. 270. But I mean, we're getting 260.
Yeah.
But that's something that, I mean, I always would take vehicles. And so like this beach location that we go to with a family, there's always this spot that is about 100-mile stretch that's like that, where it's the 2 lanes. And you get stuck behind these slow cars. And I would always be in the car whining to try to get past these vehicles quickly, because you don't want to, I mean, the oncoming traffic, and you're trying to weave. But now when it comes to 2 lanes and you're the passing game, my wife, I'm like, hold on.
The fact that you're behind someone. It's the fact that you're behind someone and they're going 2/3 the speed limit.
Yeah. But the fact that you can pass them in literally a quarter of a second.
Yeah, we should set laws to where if they're going 2/3 of speed, you should be allowed to use the pit maneuver on them and get away legally. That should be set up that way. Yeah. So that way, Yeah,
Josh, that Jesse's tried this when he shows up with big cattle grills right on the front of his truck. He's like, yeah.
I will not say I've ever wrecked anybody on a racetrack before. I'm not going to say I did. I have a couple times. I used to race a long time ago, so
yeah. I mean, it seems like the charging infrastructure is decent there now.
It is decent, yes.
Speed of charging. What
it said 350.
What level of chargers are you seeing? Are they 350s? Are they 100s?
They say 350s. They very rarely, like, there was a couple times where I'd gotten the battery down to 35-40% and plugged in, and I was getting 150, 160 out of it.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I'm 6'4" and 200 pounds too, but that ain't quite right either. So
right,
you say a lot of things that
I say a lot of things.
but yeah, I mean, the vehicle will sometimes only accept a certain amount, and we're seeing a lot of locations that they have a 350 station that's capable of delivering 350, but they've tampered the load to the site. And so it's a balance. I think even on the fastest full demand, my truck's only ever going to receive 170, period.
Well, that's the thing with the i6 is the Ioniq 6 is it's supposed to actually be able to receive up to 350. they've actually got it set to be able to do that. And I've seen a couple people online get like 289, 290.
So it must be the charging infrastructure then.
Yeah,
I would say so.
And some of it's also, a lot of it factors in with the temperature of the battery when you plug in, the speed of the charging.
Battery ahead of time. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's several of those pieces that are in play, but that's something that obviously,
Well, one of our charging systems at only one location that we may go with for the airport side is a 400. So it would be a 400 charge discharge that you could do with one, or 200 if you have two vehicles or aircraft charging at one time. So what happens when that technology gets to the point to where you have two 400s and you can stop your vehicle, plug one on one side, one on the other. Now you're getting 800. You're looking at a 5-minute charge for 1,000 miles at that point, and I don't think that's far off. I think you could really look at that in the next few years.
My little smart car that I have is definitely envious of all of this. It's a 2014 EV Smart, and it maxes out at 4.6 kilowatts. Wow. It doesn't even have a level 2. It's just a J1772. Like, that's it.
It only goes 100 kilometers or about 60 miles before it's out of charge too. So
yeah.
So down to the mailbox and back, and you're ready to go.
I'm guessing you take the i6 around most places. If I was to
most of the time, yeah. The little Smart we picked up online for like $9,000, and it's a
puddle jumper.
It's a puddle
great
jumper.
for in town.
Second vehicle for us. Like, we don't really need it for anything else, but still, it's got, like, it surprised me because I used to have one of the little diesels back in 2012. And if you guys have ever seen the Smart car, it's a little 2-door Smart 4.2. I had the diesel, and it had 49 horsepower. Well, this one has 72 horsepower, which is a huge increase for the same vehicle. Yeah. Right? Like, it does 11 seconds, 0 to 60, which
that is quick.
That's for a smart
for that
car.
Size. Yeah. It feels like you're in a go-kart too.
Oh yeah. 11 seconds. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. It's crazy to think of that compared to what we have, right?
Yeah.
As you compare that to an ICE vehicle, and it's like, oh, that's actually not that bad for 70 horsepower.
Yep.
My wife's minivan's probably like 0 to 60 in like
a week and a half.
Basically.
I'd put a mower deck on that thing and make it a lawnmower if that was mine too. Have a smart car lawnmower, just pull it around everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, kids, make sure your heads are back against the seat. Mommy's gonna floor it.
It's like a sloth
I'm not
reaction.
going to say that I've made my children and wife sick in my truck before, and I can't drive like normal anymore.
I'm not going to say I haven't injured someone in my truck. I launched them, and the next day they had to go to the dentist because I damaged one of their teeth.
We took our 80-some-year-old grandma in the car, and we were like, "Grandma, put your head back." "Oh, what do you mean?" "Put your head back against the seat." and she's like, "Oh, okay." So she sits up, and then we hit the gas, and she's like, "Woo!"
And that was the last time we got to talk to Grandma before she left. So
yeah, when Kristian took me out in his Ioniq, he was like, "Oh, check this out." And he's on a road out in the back where it flips it over to sport mode, and we're sitting in the stop, and he's like, "Sit back." And I'm like, "Okay." And I sit back because I'd never been in an electric vehicle when they had, like, I've been in one, but it was a hybrid, so nothing special, right?
Not the same, yeah.
Not the same. He planted that thing down, and all of my flesh went.
Yeah, I mean, 4 seconds compared to any vehicle I've ever driven is insane. Mm-hmm. But my buddy has a Rivian, and he can do 3.5, and it's even crazier.
Yeah. Yep.
But the thing I've yet to do, which is on the bucket list, is Lucid Air Sapphire or the Tesla Plaid. It's about the same.
You could say that all you want. I'd rather have the Remic.
True.
I mean, if you're going to say might as well, that Remic.
The Remic Navara is 1.7.
Oh.
The Lucid Air Sapphire is like 1.8. And
I'm wondering what the G-forces are like. Are you going to have to start wearing like G-force suits to drive?
I've had people.
It gets so hard that you have to call it an F instead of a G. It goes to another whole. It's the F force at that time.
Well, you're saying something that starts with F. That's for sure.
That's exactly what that means.
I've had people in my truck though say they felt like the blood rushing in their head when I'm launching them. And I'm like, just imagine going over double that speed, seriously. And that's not just like you feel it a little bit more. That's twice the acceleration. I mean, it's insane. But the Lucid Air Sapphire 1.8, they put it on the drag strip line. If you haven't watched it, go on YouTube and look up. They did a plaid
or Rumble.
They did a plaid versus a Lucid Air Sapphire versus like a Bugatti and a Ducati, and it absolutely smoked. The Lucid Air smoked all of them.
That's where this EV space is so cool. You can have that car that can get 100+ equivalent miles to the gallon and still be the fastest car on the road.
Yeah, to watch it take down a $2.5 million Bugatti was gigantically satisfying.
Now it was still $250,000.
It's a $250,000 vehicle, but it's taking down a $3 million Bugatti. I mean, that's
0 to 60 in 1.7 seconds is 1.7 Gs.
1.7 Gs.
So it's enough to make you feel lightheaded, but not to pass out.
Yeah, you're not going to pass out on that. You need to be up around 10 Gs, I think.
Normal people can handle
7, 8,
5 before they start to really feel effects, and then
the G suits.
And
then we can have a G suit, and then learn the breathing. You know,
we do not want to see you in spandex. No one wants that.
Everybody thought it was great at the party, so we don't need to talk about that.
Until the police showed up.
I was a great Spider-Man, thank you.
Until the police showed up.
Yeah, what my party? They're like, put your pants on.
But you have to remember, that's only 1.7 Gs for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Still, so though, that's amazing.
It's something that you definitely feel.
Yeah, almost doubling your weight.
Now, how
500 pounds going against? I mean, you would even think you would have to like gusset the seats. You would have to know that when somebody takes off in that car, that seat's going to have a lot more weight against it than it's designed for.
Yeah,
every time you do that, and then that constant over and over and over again, you're probably going to wear out stuff like gussets and things like that a lot quicker than you would a normal car.
Now, have you gone up against any vehicles on the road at like a red light?
No,
and
I haven't. Yeah, I did in my smart car.
Smart car, yes.
I have in the smart car, and like shocked the crap out of the guys that what was the guy I was racing the one day? He had like a Chevy Corvette or something, like an older,
allegedly.
Yeah,
on
and I rolled down my window and I kind of waved at him and I'm like, "Let's go!" And he looks at me and he's like, "Whatever." And I put the pedal to the floor. Well, a block later, he finally caught up to me, and
yeah, I mean, like you see these vehicles pull up, and I mean they're in their souped up vehicles, and that I mean. I don't think that nobody actually realizes the power of an EV,
no.
And a lot of people are ignorant. Like it's been entertaining to have some people like I've picked up a few people that are like, "Is this an electric? Oh, that's cool. I've never driven an electric before." I'm like, "Hold on a second." And they're like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah.
Like, it's a
and that's what's kind of fun with the Ioniq too is that it looks like just your regular 4-door sedan.
Yeah. And when you have the EVs that have the variable transmission where there's no stutter with a shift, like that also changes the feel of the ride. So
yeah. Now the big question is, why does Jess not have an EV? Yep.
Cost.
Here you are talking about it, but
cost and availability is the biggest one too.
It's the biggest thing. Kristian waited 2 years.
I'm still on a wait list to get an Ioniq 5, which is the kind of mini SUV. I'm still on a wait list at 2 different dealerships here.
Can Tesla not get you one in 3-4 months?
Yeah, even the Teslas here in Saskatchewan are 6 to 12 months, and I don't.
Wow.
Well, if you order one here, make a road trip down together. Join the podcast. I'll have it delivered to my house because it'll take 3 months, and then you can just drive it back.
I think he's also saying he'll pay for it too. Is that right now, Josh? Yeah, there you go.
I like that deal.
This is all part of Power Up Canada, right?
The wee division.
Power Up Moose.
Yellow.
Hey, you want to paint it that way? I'll take it.
No matter. Oh.
No, it's in the works. It's in the plans. So.
Which one would you go for? What's your EV of choice?
I honestly don't know. I'd have to really look at it. I'm currently driving a Bronco Sport, so
yes,
yeah, I really like it.
I had the Bronco, the full size Bronco Outer Banks with the Sasquatch package.
It's a Sport Outer Banks, so it's a little smaller, but it's really
the Sasquatch package on the regular. It was just sharp.
Mm-hmm.
But then my wife got pregnant with my third kid, and
They don't fit the Bronco.
3 kids, 2 adults, and a Bronco. It was like, you're going to a minivan. And so now she drives a Honda Odyssey.
Yeah, and then that's actually what I was going to get before I got my F-150 Lightning. Was I was going to get a Bronco. I wanted the yellow one.
They're so. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
my neighbor across the street has a 2-door Sasquatch. I don't know what trim. I think it's an Outer Banks, but a 2-door. And I mean, it's a nice.
Yeah.
That was a really good redo by Ford. The Bronco series has
absolutely.
been.
I took mine up north. I go up north fishing way. Like when we say up north in Canada, we're talking like way up.
The polar bears and stuff.
Not quite that far, but yeah, it's,
you're already north. I mean,
yeah. But we're here where we are in Moose Jaw. We're only like an hour and a half from the American border. So when I'm saying north, I'm saying almost to the like 2/3 of the way up the province, which is
be the lower part of Alaska.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
And you get into some pretty rocky and tough conditions, and the roads they're not paved, they're gravel. And this thing was a beast. It was on those roads. It never even slid. It went around corners like it was on rails. And I was doing 60 miles an hour on like a back road, no problems. So I really enjoyed that.
I could see him in an F-150 like you guys in the Lightning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially with the prices and stuff coming down recently and whatnot.
Well, I will have a used one coming up soon.
And then you can pick it up.
Yeah, because once the Cybertruck comes out, I have found out my number is around 10,000th Cybertruck. So when it comes out, I will be going over to that vehicle. So I probably will be selling my F-150. Thought about keeping it and letting my son drive it, but
he would do too much with a.
I think he does not. His 15-year-old does not need an F-150 Lightning.
No, he needs a smart car.
Yes,
there you go. We'll trade even. So,
and then he can't go that far either.
And he can only carry one friend.
Yeah.
The problem is he's about 6'3", 6'4" now. So
you bring the smart car down, and you can pick up the Lightning. Yeah, I mean, what was the point I was trying to make?
Oh, there it went. I saw the bulb blow out.
It disappeared. So. I had a point to make, and then it went away.
He had a short.
No, I think Jess would be good with a Lightning.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah.
I'm a huge dude. I'm 6'6".
Yeah.
And I undisclosed
really
weight.
well.
I'm 6'6", but every vehicle I drove in, my first car I drove was a Ford Focus, which was like the little tiny one. I had to have the seat all the way pressed against the back.
I had a Focus for many, many years before I got into a last vehicle I had was an Edge, which I really liked as well.
I had to duck to drive. But then I got my first truck and I was like, okay, well, this is the rest of my life. Cause even SUVs aren't as spacious as the F-150s.
Yeah.
And you think it's the same size. No, it's not.
No.
And just a truck fits me and my size.
Yeah. When I got this one, I seriously looked at the, what was it? It's the all electric Ford truck, but it's not the 150. It's the other one.
They have a hybrid Maverick.
That's there's a hybrid. And that was the one I was looking at because all the other ones that are all electric they're too small.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the hybrids are definitely a well sought after item up here, just because then you don't have the range anxiety.
Yeah.
I hope they do plug-in hybrids here. We got a few vehicles that's done it, but I think if you hit that sweet spot of about 50-mile range on that plug-in option, and then every day I can get up with 50 miles of just plugged-in electricity.
That's your commute car.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could do everything I do during the daytime, but if I have to go, 400 miles to Nashville or 250 miles to Nashville, I can without having to worry that I need to stop and charge halfway there, which, even on 250 miles to Nashville, the charging stations are not where we need to go. We're near downtown yet. The slow chargers don't really work out well. So we have to charge halfway to get to Nashville, which is only a 250-mile trip. So that's a little aggravating. I wish we could get there, charge, and then come back. But, by this time next year, we'll probably be opening 3 locations across Interstate 40 that then we can do that and not have to worry about it. So
we've got lots of new ones opening here too. Like I know there's a couple that are right in the middle of nowhere that they just announced the last couple of days that are 6 or 8 stalls, and they're
a little town on the main on the number 1 highway, which is our large highway that crosses the entire country.
Our one interstate.
Yeah. And it'll be like a little town that has maybe 100 people in it, and there'll be a an EV charging station that you can just stop with a little store type thing in it.
What type of incentives, as another side point, do you get for buying an EV in the United States? As long as the MSRP is under $80,000 US, you basically, if you buy a plug-in hybrid that meets, I think, a couple of requirements, but then any full electric vehicle, you get $7,500 back as a tax credit. What type of incentives do you guys get?
There's provincial incentives, so like state incentives, and federal ones. The federal ones have a list of vehicles that meet those requirements, and it's the same sort of thing. There's a dollar value. I'm not sure what that dollar value is, but the vehicle has to be under a certain dollar value to get that federal incentive. And then provincially, we have nothing here. In our province, there's nothing. Jess just pulled up the numbers.
It's between $2,500 and $5,000 Canadian incentive, depending on the vehicle. Let me see. Let me go further down.
There are places here you can get a $5,000 on used vehicles, and then certain cities and states you get an extra $2,500 on used vehicles. I wonder if that means we could buy their smart car and pay for it with the incentives and have it for free. We'll try it. Let's see if we can try that. Let's see if we can do that. See if we get $9,000 in incentives on a used vehicle.
How are you getting that vehicle down here?
Oh, I'm going to drive that thing here.
You ain't going to drive it anywhere with 100-kilometer range. Nope. The chargers are not close enough. And
you got to remember, our trucks can charge other vehicles. Actually, I'm not coming alone.
So again, this comes back to my problem of it being a 4.6 kilowatt input. That's all it can take.
Oh, I could put it on a trailer and charge it as we go down the road. I
mean, you might actually be able to get you a snowmobile topper that goes in the back of your truck and drive it right up on top.
There you go.
And then what you do is you put some solar panels on top of that.
Yes. Yep. So
yeah, F-150 would be $5,000. Is what?
Okay.
Incentive.
About the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, with a conversion, it's about the same.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes it. That for the plug-in hybrid space, I mean, for those with range anxiety and dealing with like tiptoeing in to the space, if they can get plug-in hybrids to 50 miles of range, and you still get the tax credit, and you still get the benefits, and all of your commute then becomes all electric. We've said it multiple times. I think that's the next step towards that. You can push people to all electric, and with the charging infrastructure improvements and things, I think that's something that
it's on
adoption will improve.
Yeah.
I wasn't overly concerned when I bought my truck. There's been minor issues, but nothing crazy. And that's with the infrastructure the way it is. It's literally about to get over 3 times better than what it currently is.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be something that with my vehicle, the only inconvenience is on a road trip, the slightly extra time. I won't say slightly, the extra time it takes to charge. It's, it does take more time, but it's not.
You rewind 100 years and they probably had the same issue with the Model T.
Yeah. Anytime I took my horse up and down the valley, and it would take me 2 weeks. I would almost die of dysentery. I mean, my wagon would have a tire fall off, 3 weeks to cross one state. Yeah, I could see it being still better than that.
That is how old you are.
First world problems over there.
There's the sound effects that we needed. But yeah, so I mean, I think
is the same thing. It's a $5,000 incentive. The plug-in
hybrid.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the way it is here is you still get the same credit for buying a plug-in hybrid. And
we don't have any of the same used things that you do though. Like we have zero used incentives.
Is that state or is that federal?
I don't remember. I have to quantify that.
I think it was I think like California state awarded that type of credit.
Well, we can do just like him and look on Google.
It's probably this, very similar to what we have. Every province has different things. BC being very progressive, similar to California, they're very ahead of the curve on that too. So they have more incentives. They've got incentives for companies to even put chargers in on site, like at the grocery store and things like that. They've got big cash incentives to get more of that infrastructure in place.
So you can get $4,000 on a used EV through the federal program.
Okay.
But it's 30% of the sale price. So, and you can't go over 20, it's $25,000 or less.
Well, I can
so it's only 30% of whatever. Oh yeah. That's $15,000 car right there, ain't it? $20,000 car. So
let me tell you about a deal I have.
One of the things that, I was talking about the speed of charging. I think one of the things that people don't realize is on a road trip, the idle time that they usually have, even in a gas-powered vehicle, they don't spend it at the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
They don't spend it at the gas station, but they usually spend it at the restaurant eating while they. So it's a matter of finding charge. I mean, I took my trip to Florida and back, and that's
14 hours,
600 miles, I think is what it is.
Something like that. Yeah.
And so I had to charge twice on the way down there. Got there to a hotel, and I told you about that charging experience. But then on the way back, you had the same thing, 2 charges. And, on the way down, we stopped for lunch. We found a charger that was next to a Ruby Tuesdays, restaurant.
And you're going to be in there for an hour. Yeah,
we were in there for 45 minutes. And so not only, the high-speed charging is to 80%, but not only did I get to 80, I was at like 88%. It slowed down, but it still charged me all the way up to 88%.
Yeah.
Got all the way down. And when we took my kids, we ended up not driving all the way down. We actually stopped the night because we didn't want to make the 14-hour road trip in one day. So we stopped the night at a hotel, woke up the next morning, and drove the last 3 hours. And so in that world, I could basically do lunch or dinner in that situation, stop for the night, be fully charged, make it all the way there. And I experienced no inconvenience in my day. It's a matter of just being strategic and saying, when I was with my wife, the second stop, we just hung out. We watched an episode of The Office. And by the time the episode of The Office was over with, I was ready to go.
Which episode?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I love The Office so much, and I've watched it so much.
The whole story.
I can definitely see a lot of the in the future, gas stations would be more of a coffee shop instead, where you'd stop, plug your vehicle in, go in, sit down, watch on your phone, have a coffee or whatever your drink is, or a sandwich or something, and then head off on what you're going to do.
And the best charging stations for me are the ones that are located close to amenities. And a lot of the charging stations we have now are kind of like in a Walmart parking lot. And so you're limited on your amenities, but sometimes that actually is in close enough proximity to, we went up to Northern Virginia, stopped at a Walmart, but right around the corner was like a Jersey Mike's or something. It was a Firehouse Subs. And so we walked in and had a sub. Yeah. And by the time we finished eating, went back to the car, it was fully charged, ready to go.
Yeah, that's the key to these charging stations, is they've got to have those little roadside attractions, is what we'd call them here. Is, you got to have something to do, something to eat, somewhere to, maybe even a small little playground with some swings,
price some more money out of you.
But as battery tech improves, we're going to see quicker charge speeds, and we're going to see lighter weight, and so you'll get more efficiency and longer range, and you'll be able to charge quicker. Like, my vehicle will only deliver 170, so it does take me 40 minutes to charge my truck at a charging stop. Whereas if you actually were able to peak at, let's say, 250, I would be able to be at that charging stop for 15 minutes less, 20 minutes less.
Well, that's today. Imagine when it is 350 and that upload and everything.
Even with a 200 kilowatt battery.
10 minutes, you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And really, I play on my phone more than 10 minutes when I, wee. So it's one of those things that...
Well, and on a road trip with families, you guys know, we're stopping for gas. So when you did, you jump out, everyone would go off and do their washroom breaks and everything like that. You'd be filling the vehicle up, and then you'd go in, you'd pay, and then they'd be doing their thing in the store, and then they'd come out. And by the time you're done, it's been 20 minutes already.
Absolutely. Every time we've stopped with the kids at a gas station, it's minimum 15
I can't wait till they get a Buc-ee's up in Canada. That's going to be fantastic. Instead of a beaver, they better use the moose.
Yeah. Moosies.
Oh, let's make our own.
Moosies.
Moosies.
Like Moossees. Moosies, like Buc-ee's.
Anyway, so thank you all for coming. It's about that time too, ain't it? Almost out of time. Don't let me forget after this to tell you about something else our charging stations are going to have. Don't want to spill the beans on it yet, because
so all of our listeners, you can't find out right now.
Yeah, we'll let you know about that here in a little while, because November 1st. So our November, the first or second week of November, we'll be able to go through and tell everybody what locations. We'll go ahead and open the door on what charging systems we're going to be using and how many locations and everything about our charging network that we're going to do. And hopefully we'll get some traction behind that. And I don't know, maybe we can put one up in Canada, because, the aircraft, I think, would be the best way of doing it, because I really do see that as something we can do.
That way we can fly our EV aircraft up to your house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking forward to seeing them up here, you guys.
Well, see, maybe that can be Jess's first EV.
There you go.
EV plane.
Yeah.
I mean,
it works for me.
It
may cost $3 million, but I mean, we'll get you an EV plane.
Actually, I don't know how much they cost.
We'll
have to call it.
They're not even out for commercial use yet, so I don't know if
we'll call Ian and have him
give us
price one.
But yeah, well, it's been fun. Thank you guys
really
so much for joining
on this.
We'll have another joint episode at some point. This has been good, insightful conversation.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all again. This has been another episode of Turned Down for What?
And Nerdish, nerdy, nerd news.
Yeah, join us. So we've got not just EV stuff, but anything tech. So you can find us anywhere on the internet at any podcast place, as well as wildshot.ca. That's our website.
And we are on all same platforms. Turned Down for What on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of the popular platforms. And we are Turned Down for What podcast.com. And we also we'll have this entire recording on YouTube if you follow Turned Down for What on YouTube. So,
Booty boop.
Booty boop boop.